Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentle germs. Welcome back to the channel. Today is day numero 11 of the 14-day video a day challenge for the month of June. And as you could tell by now, yes, I am recording all of these videos in bulk. When I get inspired and I have a lot of ideas I want to record, especially when I set myself up for a challenge where I need to make sure I have a video out every single day for 14 days. I'm actually kind of sad because we're almost done with this challenge, man. 2 weeks already. 2 weeks of consistent videos, sometimes more than one a day. I gotta say, that's a new personal record for me. At the conclusion of yesterday's video, I was talking about E3 and the supposed relevance of it, right? And I closed off by talking about this shirt that I'm wearing. Now, for those of you guys who can't see this shirt, it has a bunch of character silhouettes. Any hardcore Japanese RPG fan will know where this is from. This, ladies and gentlemen, is from Dragon Quest XI: Echoes of an Elusive Age. And this game is actually kind of hot right now, And it's so funny talking about Dragon Quest being popular because if this whole the hero being in Smash Bros thing wasn't a big indication about how, I don't want to say polarizing. Polarizing is not the word to use, but how so many people can know about Dragon Quest and at the same time not know about its relevance. It's so funny because when the hero was revealed for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as one of the upcoming DLC characters, you had an equal amount of people go, "Yeah, Dragon Quest, this is awesome, oh my god, yes." And then you had a lot of people go, "What the hell is Dragon Quest?" Dragon Quest, as a franchise, is one of the most prolific and legendary series of all time. Dragon Quest is right up there with Final Fantasy when it comes to name recognition, brand recognition, legacy. The only difference between the two is that Final Fantasy cracked a worldwide appeal and Dragon Quest stayed in Japan. But if you look at the sales for the games, they are very, very close. And it's so funny because you see a lot of people come out here and question the relevance of Dragon Quest as a series. And this isn't a video talking about me ranting on these people who say they're big gamers and they're all about, I grew up playing the NES and the Commodore 64 and blah, 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 and they don't know the relevance of Dragon Quest, especially to the Japanese role-playing genre. It's just like, you say you love JRPGs and you say that Dragon Quest is not relevant when every single game has been inspired since Dragon Quest 3. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that, even though that was just like my mini rant and tirade. What I want to talk about today is Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. Jesus Christ, I feel so bad for people who have to print tags at retail stores because, wow, try abbreviating that. Dragon Quest XI-S is coming to the Nintendo Switch. It was actually one of the very first Nintendo Switch games that got announced, back when it was called the Nintendo NX. Back then when nobody knew what the system was and we all thought it was going to be a bigger flop than the Wii U. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and deny. Like I said that the NX, I didn't think it'd be that big of a deal. I thought it'd be better than the Wii U, but not by much. And I'm so glad to be proven wrong. That's what I like. I will come on here and I will eat humble pie, unlike a lot of people. It's pretty good for you. Pretty good. But for so many years, we really hadn't heard much about it. Nada. All we were focused on was both the 3DS version and the PlayStation 4. And then eventually a PC version got announced, which was a port of the PS4 version. But for a long time, the Switch version was just like kind of meandering, And a lot of people were questioning if it would eventually ever come out. And if it did come out, would we have to wait for a long localization? But I think if the sales of Dragon Quest XI have been any indication, and just the sales of the Switch, no. Because not only did they announce a game coming out for the Switch in 2019, they also announced a localization. September 2019. If you are a fan of Dragon Quest, that means a lot. It means a hell of a lot. The fact that the game is coming out on the Switch and it's getting localization at the same time is a very big deal. Because while I sit here and I talk about the relevance of Dragon Quest, and I talk about how it's this incredible series with such a legacy, most people outside Japan don't really know about that legacy. I'm sure you know one or two people who look at Dragon Quest and are just like, those look like Dragon Ball Z characters. Oh, the guy who works in Dragon Ball Z, he did the characters for these games? Oh, that's crazy. So many people, because that's really all that was pimped out here in the West. I think one of the first major modern pushes for Dragon Quest was Dragon Quest VIII on the PlayStation 2. And I remember it because it was plastered all over the Shonen Jump magazines. I have a ton of Shonen Jump magazines up here, and I remember seeing ads for that game on the PlayStation 2, and it looked so freaking cool. And then ever since then, it kind of struggled around here because they would jump from platform to platform. You know, one game would be on the Nintendo DS, and then they would show up on the 3DS, but the 3DS games didn't come out to the West until a very long time. Then they really didn't get that much of a push. There was so much going on that really squandered Dragon Quest's potential as a megaton franchise outside Japan. And it was just very sad if you were a fan of the series, because the series is so good, but it was just hampered by the localization and the lack of interest, which sucks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole reason why we got the 3DS and maybe even the DS Dragon Quest games was because Nintendo localized them, which was very surprising. So the fact that this game is coming out and is being pushed means a lot, because this franchise was on the verge of staying Japan exclusive. The games really didn't sell that well here in the States because of the lack of advertising. But what's so different now is that with the advent of social media and people like us getting on here and inform you guys of this game, games are getting second chances. Companies are noticing that people want these games. Because it's one thing to write letters to a company, it's another thing entirely to go out there and support it. But when you got people out here who are doing videos saying the top 10 JRPGs to watch, top 10 JRPGs outside of Japan you might be interested in, top 10 JRPGs that should be localized, it's not just us that are watching those. It's the people who work in the companies, right? And sometimes they'll throw you a bone. They'll say, hey, we'll bring out this game digital if you guys want more, support it. And of course you'll have some pushback from people. They want the physical copies, which is understandable. But there's reasons as to why these companies do certain things. Because it shows that there is demand and consumer interest. But I thought this was a video on Dragon Quest XI. Why are we talking about the history of Dragon Quest? We're going to get to that. Because Dragon Quest XI S is an enhanced version of the original Dragon Quest game, which came out, at the time of this release, it'll be almost 2 years ago. It came out 2017 in Japan, localized 2018 for the States, and then 2019 on the Switch. That game is coming with a wealth of upgrades. A ton of upgrades. Just a metric crap ton of improvements over the vanilla version of the game. One of the biggest critiques leveled towards the original Dragon Quest XI, at least on consoles, was that it did not come with an orchestrated soundtrack. It opted to use the classic music, which is very synthesized, and there's no problem with it, but it's 2018 when that game came out, and we have all these great speakers. Well, I don't. My TV sits over here on a damn kitchen stand because that is the most sturdy and noble kitchen stand out there. Dinner tray, that's what it is. But we have all these great sound systems, or at least some people do, and they just want to hear beautiful orchestrated sounds. And we didn't get that due to an artistic choice by the composer, who is apparently a war crimes denier. So, yay! Awesome. That's definitely helping your rep. But with the definitive edition, after they saw that a lot of people on PC were just like, nope, we're going to mod it, they decided to incorporate it into the base game. In addition to that, they incorporated the 16-bit mode from the 3DS version, because both the 3DS and the PS4 version were different entirely. One was full 3D, one was 16-bit. Now you can switch between both. And in addition to that, you get just a whole bunch of other upgrades, which I'm not going to go into because it's just a lot to list. And if I tell you all this stuff now, it's going to seem like, oh, well, that would be cool if I'm interested in it. But this has prompted a lot of people to be very, apprehensive towards Square Enix. They're thinking about boycotting the game on the Switch Because if you bought the game on PS4 and PC, you're not getting these upgrades. You're not getting the definitive edition content. Which, honestly, I can see where these people are coming from. Because essentially, you pay $60 for the game. Switch owners pay $6 for the game. They're getting the definitive experience with all this extra content, and you're not. You essentially beta tested the game for an entire year when you shouldn't have, considering it's only been a year and some of the stuff, a lot of the stuff, should probably be added in as an update. You see, because this happened before in the past, especially Japan had a tendency of doing this. With a lot of the early Xbox 360 games, when people thought the Xbox 360 was going to be the wave, right? They came out with a lot of Japanese RPGs exclusive to the Xbox. I believe games like Eternal Sonata, games like I'm trying to remember what was the other one. There was Eternal Sonata, something else. Of course, Tales of Vesperia was a big one on the 360. They ended up porting them to the PS3 like a year and change later. And they came with a wealth of upgrades and content to justify the long wait. Now, the Xbox 360 didn't get any of those updates. I assume people were mad. Well, the 3 people who bought the games on Xbox 360, let's be honest, Japanese games don't sell. But nowadays, when you have the ability to do updates and you can come out with patches, something like Dead Island with their, not Dead Island, I'm sorry, Dying Light with their definitive edition, enhanced edition updates that they just put on the store for like $20. You're telling me we couldn't get something like that for Dragon Quest XI? And it's so funny considering, isn't Square Enix publishing Dying Light 2? it's so weird, And the past game had an enhanced edition update, and all you had to do was buy it. Now, it remains to be seen if they're going to come out here and do that sort of shtick, because sometimes there's something in the exclusivity clause where it says they can't do that. Maybe the fact that Nintendo is publishing this, I believe they are publishing this. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. But maybe them publishing it might be the reason why they have to get all this exclusive content. Or maybe just is Square Enix's way of doing things. I mean, this wouldn't be the first time that Square Enix does something to the benefit of some consumers. But not all. So, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on this because I bought it on the PS4. I enjoyed it on PS4. I'm going to buy it again on the Switch because I want to hear that soundtrack and I want to play all the upgrades. And it's Dragon Quest. I want to see more from the series. But I think it's going to do very well on the Switch. Despite the supposed boycott, the Switch, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Switch sells games. It exists, which means people buy games for it. Like, I've shown you guys my collection here, and this isn't even all of my games because I have a lot digital. This is just from owning the Switch in a year and a half. I could have got a lot of these games on PS4. I own some of these games on PS4, but I bought them again on the Switch. Why? Because the Switch's appeal is just so strong, and yeah, I can play it here on my TV, but I gotta go somewhere. I'm working a double at work. I just want to go on the toilet. I would never bring a portable system, any type of system. I don't even bring my phone to the bathroom like that. I mean, I know a lot of people do it, just sit on the cam, but I'm like, nope, sanitary purposes. Yeah, I think Dragon Quest XI will do fine on the Switch. If games like Skyrim can be in the number 1, Doom can be in the number 1, Cuphead, all these games be in the number 1, I think Dragon Quest will be alright. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about here today on this rambly rant about Dragon Quest. It seems like it's a great time to be a fan. I mean, we've got Dragon Quest Builders 2 coming out, the hero is in Smash Bros, Dragon Quest XI's is on the Switch, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up porting over Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, because that exists in Japan on the Switch. Just got to bring it over here, and hopefully they clean up the frame rate and optimize it. Anyways, from me for now, my name is NGS signing out, and like always, I catch you guys later. Peace.